I'm Vicki Hogarth, and welcome to Southwest Magazine. I'm joined today by mental health advocate Matthew Dickson, who is biking across Canada for mental health awareness. Thank you for being here today, Matthew.
Thanks for having me on the show again.
So can you tell me a little bit about, this is, I think, your fourth time on a full half-hour show here at CHCO. You've been here in the past to talk about your life living with schizophrenia. Why the bike trip, though?
I biked across Canada when I was 20, and that was in the middle of university, and I was a little bit sick then, but I didn't know I was sick. Well, I mean, I knew I had some symptoms going on, but I didn't know anything about mental illness or schizophrenia, and I could still do stuff. I was getting mostly A's at school, living on my own, doing okay financially. It was, but I just had some symptoms. And anyway, so I biked across Canada, and I just loved it. I wanted to do more trips like that. And after the trip ended, I didn't want to have to go back to school. But I went back. I finished my degree because I didn't really know what else I wanted to do, and got my degree. And then the disease hit hard. In a matter of weeks, I went from muddling through life a bit to just at death's door, really, in the hospital. So it's something I've always wanted to do again. I remember on the trip, someone saying it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm like, that just doesn't sit well with me. Once in a lifetime, I want to do more of this. So the last so many years, I've thought more about, well, maybe I could do it. And I did start, forget a year or two ago, a fundraiser, and I tackled it the wrong way to do the trip again, and it didn't get anywhere. And this year, I just feel there's more momentum with my own health, with other people, the way I'm approaching the trip for funding and whatnot. So it's, I have, one of my drawbacks is just sort of low organizational skills. It's, I am getting a lot more of my motivation back and my productivity, but I'm not a 24/7 round the clock, hustle. I can't do that right now. But one thing I'm darn sure I can do is the actual biking. It's about 150 kilometers a day, which is 5 to 7 or so hours a day of biking, and I just know I can do that. I've done it before. I know what I'm getting into physically, and this would be so I thought of having support vehicle drivers, because I would love to I want to put on events along the way, meeting people in the communities, meeting people with schizophrenia, and just talking more about this disease. It's a fundraiser for the provincial and national schizophrenia societies here in Canada. So people can donate to, like people in New Brunswick could donate to the New Brunswick Schizophrenia Society. People in Alberta could donate to the Alberta Schizophrenia Society. I'm also raising funds for the Mind Aid nonprofits, which is my website, mindaid.ca, is the world's first website for all the groups helping people with mental illness in developing countries all on one site. So it's, I've got 10 nonprofits there that give basic mental health care in developing countries, and I'm encouraging people to donate to those. So people can donate to funds for schizophrenia here in Canada or for mental health in developing countries. I leave that up to the donors.
So if people at home, I understand you're leaving in June.
I leave June 4th from Vancouver.
Okay. So if people want to follow your adventures or also find out where they could reach these organizations that you're raising awareness and also funds for, is there a place to follow your journey online?
Yeah, it's the website mindaid.ca, mindaid.ca. There's a link there to the 2023 bike ride. And also I've got a blog there. The link's in the blog to the for the bike ride. So it's on the bike ride webpage. There's each date for the 2.5 months or so. Each date and the city or town will be in that night. It's all listed there for every single day. So
you have a schedule you are committed to. So you have to be ready, right?
Yeah.
How are you training for this big trip?
I jumped ahead in my training. I couldn't wait because about a week or so ago, I bicycled 90 kilometers. I bicycled around town here, around the point, 18 times. And that's the longest I've biked in one day since my bike trip, really.
Wow.
Back almost 30 years ago. I did that trip in 1992. So I'm not too worried about my age. I'm 51. But people, the trip I went on, it's called Tour de Canada, and I've met them when they come through here in through New Brunswick the last so many years. The guy who started the tour, Bud Jorgensen, I met him one year. He was 80, biking across Canada again for the umpteenth time. And so I'm not too worried about the age thing. It's the training's not too bad. It's April was a little cool. I didn't get out as much as I wanted to, but I'll keep plugging away here. So,
is there something full circle about the trip when you look back on the first time you did it? It was really before being diagnosed with schizophrenia, and you had a journey with schizophrenia that we've talked about in detail, and I encourage anyone at home watching now to look at especially your past 2 episodes of this show that you've been on, that you can find on CHCO's YouTube archival page, where you really talk about your journey and what it was like, and the struggles to the point that you're at now, where you really are living your best life, and you show people a different idea of schizophrenia than I think most people who are ignorant to the disease. There's a lot of stereotypes out there, and you've dispelled that for a lot of people. But is this a full circle moment for you in terms of where you were at the first time you did this bike trip to where you're at now?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things that are wrapping up in my life. I find it's just sort of mentally, definitely full circle thing. So I want to say one thing too. Here in St. Andrews, in 1994, when I was diagnosed, a lady saw me walking down the street. She said I looked like I was walking through a world of flying glass. And I didn't tell people I had schizophrenia. People knew, my friends and family, but I didn't. I mean, in the 90s, you couldn't utter the words mental health in public. You'd sniff people out before you mention those words. I can say mental health in the grocery store now. Mm-hmm. You can talk about mental health with strangers. Mental health posters, there's mental health, the words mental health everywhere, online, in stores, everywhere, on the news. It took me longer to say schizophrenia in public, and it didn't happen until maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was at Honey Beans, the coffee shop here, and I was talking to a lady, and I said the word schizophrenia, so that usually for my whole 30 years, I would say it just loud enough that the person I'm talking to could hear, but the people around, strangers, couldn't hear. And I said it out loud for the first time just like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was like, I can't believe I actually said that out loud. People out there could have heard me. Yeah. And I think it must be, Matthew, you're trying to be loud and proud about schizophrenia across Canada this summer. You better start saying this out loud.
Have you felt that though? I mean, that's a great point that you bring up, that full circle for you in terms of how you've come to live with schizophrenia in the way that you have really taken life by the horns and are living your best life now, but also in terms of the world we're living in. Back when you were diagnosed, the idea of talking openly about schizophrenia, was it much more terrifying than it is now? Yeah, for sure. It was. I would say the word mental health to somebody new, see how that went. And then I'd mention maybe depression or anxiety, see how that went. And then I'd throw out the S word and I hope it goes okay. But I always felt like at work, I worked in Fredericton for 20 years, and I always felt more comfortable when I was working with new people if I just got it out of the way quickly. Mm-hmm. It just made me feel better. And for the most part, people are fine with it. Mm-hmm. I never really had anybody give me a hard time about it. And it's, yeah. How did it change your life? I know since I've known you, you've always just been so open about it, and it's just a part of who you are. And I think it's made me feel comfortable always asking questions if I have questions, and also your openness to even be on this show in particular. It's your 3rd time on Selfless Magazine. I appreciate that. How did it change your life though? Obviously you're going on this bike trip, which is an openness to, I'm not just nationally, I'm sure internationally people will be watching it, but when you decided to be open, how did that change your own perspective of schizophrenia? Was it helpful?
My own perspective, I'd say it's always sort of been the same. I'm really curious to meet other people with schizophrenia because I haven't met many. We hide. We don't tell each other about it. It's just so much. It's just so hidden. Mm-hmm. So there is a group in the States, well, worldwide really, students with schizophrenia They've got a website, and they have student advocates with schizophrenia all over the world. And I was looking at some of their photos, their Zoom, Facebook group photos from Zoom, and they posted photos of their advocates from around the world, students, so they're young, and a bio about them, and they all look so normal. It was the first time they started posting all these photos when the pandemic hit. For the first time in my life, I saw all these photos of people with the same thing as me. I'd never seen that before. And dozens and dozens. I'm like, so this is what we look like. I didn't even know what we looked like. I mean, dementia, we've had people in the media and movies with dementia for decades, maybe inaccurately portrayed, but we know what they look like. Grandmother, grandfather. I didn't even know what people like me look like. And I was like, they all look so normal. They don't have horns out of their head. They're not, you know, it's, anyway, so that's one thing I like. And they're also different personality-wise. Their bios, they'd have, you know, I'm studying astronomy, or all these different interests, wide range of personalities and interests, and yeah.
You mentioned media portrayal of dementia as an example. Have you found there's been a negative media portrayal of schizophrenia that has maybe damaged the public's perception of what it really is to have schizophrenia?
One stat is people with schizophrenia are no more prone to violence than the rest of the general population, and that's one thing I'd really like people to know. The BC Schizophrenia Society says that people with untreated schizophrenia can be a bit more violent, and I'm trying to find that stat out. I don't know if it's a little bit more or a lot more. I don't know. I'm assuming a little bit more, but I really don't know. The media, I see more people in the media trying to be more respectful of people with mental illness and whatnot, so we're definitely going down the right path. And there's Andrew Tolles, the Major League Baseball player. He has schizophrenia. He's 30 now, and they found him homeless and living behind an airport shelter or building just recently. And the LA Dodgers, his team, are renewing his contract so that he can get treatment. And I just heard about that the other day, and I'm like, wow, thank you, LA Dodgers, for doing that. That's, for one thing, I'm just happy to know a celebrity with schizophrenia, because there's so few of them. I'm like, wow, I'm so happy about that. And I'm just praying that he'll recover and be up playing baseball again, or doing something and being a spokesperson for this disease. So I'd love to meet him someday.
Has the online era, I mean, when I think about when you say you were diagnosed, would be right at the time the internet was sort of becoming part of our daily lives, but not to the degree that it is now, where you can find online support groups, find these groups you're talking about where you can see other faces of schizophrenia. Has there been helpful elements to the way the world has moved in part online in terms of finding a better community and a better understanding?
Yeah, I never got into support groups online for schizophrenia. I don't know why. I was always a little hesitant about the internet. I was on the internet for work, mostly that's when I used it. And I didn't have the internet at home. And I mean, for example, my very first job in an office doing computer work, it was hard for me to think about all these different screens to go through. Like the internet, you go through this maze of different screens. And I had trouble just focusing on one screen, and all this sort of intangible thought you need to find your way through all these screens and stuff with the internet. I found that difficult just visually and from memory and stuff. So that might be another reason I stayed away from it. But there's so much help for people online with mental health. It is out there, and I know you have to do a lot of digging yourself. There are so many resources. At the same time, we talk about how bad our mental health care system is. So it's a bit of both. There's good things and bad things about it. Hopefully it'll just keep getting better as time goes on.
Why is it important for you to bring that in-person element back to, I'm speaking specifically about the bike ride that you're about to embark on, to be that real face in communities across Canada?
I'll be honest, I have thoughts. Matthew, does it really matter if you bike across Canada? Will it really help anybody at all? Really? Why are you doing this? You could get hit by a truck. Is it really worth it? You could spend the rest of your life advocating for mental health and you ruined it by getting hit by a truck. Really? Is it really that important? Those are my dark times. I also think, well, maybe there's somebody out there who would say, wow, this disease isn't a death sentence. Look at him. He biked across Canada. Really? I wonder if I could do something like that. Or do something, he got his dreams back. My dreams were stolen from me. Maybe I can get them back. Maybe give some hope somehow. I don't know. Maybe I'll help nobody. But I feel I can do this. And I would love to actually have it be an annual trip. Every summer I'm wishing I was out there traveling across Canada. I've got wanderlust too badly. It's actually a curse. I love going out exploring and traveling. But and I want to meet people. I want to be a face for this disease and show that it isn't a death sentence, that you can get your life back. And the disease often, not often, I don't know what the stats are, but it can leave later in life, like 40s, 50s at some point. So it's, and people recently diagnosed with the disease, they may not know that.
Right.
And I just want to get people talking about it more because I haven't been able to talk about it for so many years. So,
and that's one thing you've actually talked about on this show is that as you've aged with schizophrenia, the symptoms have lessened for you. Obviously, you still take medication, but you've actually found that your journey with schizophrenia has become much more easy to handle.
Yeah, basically, I pop a pill every night. I try to live a healthy lifestyle, and that's it. The ultimate solution for anything is just popping a pill, isn't it? Then you're cured. I'm not cured. I still have this disease. You could say I'm finally managing it, or it's in remission, or I say successfully recovered for a bit more flair. But I feel pretty darn good. And I'm not, like I said, I still have some things to tweak out, to work on, to be more productive. But at the same time, I want to enjoy life too, because I haven't enjoyed life for a long time. I've pushed through a lot of pain to get here, and I would really like to just have some fun. I don't want to get stressed out. I'm supposed to watch my stress levels for the rest of my life, or until I am cured. You never know, they might find a cure someday. But I would really just like to have fun and have that ripple effect up for me, have fun. People working with me, whatever that looks like in the future, I'd just like to say, guys, have fun. Don't get stressed out by this.
Which leads to my next question, which is, obviously you hope to inspire a lot of people along the way with this trip, also shed light on what it really is to live with mental illness. What do you, though, hope to get out of such a journey that I think so many people will envy that you've done this with your life? Canada is such a big country, and so few of us ever get to travel across it at all, let alone by bike. And this is your second time. But what do you hope to take away from this journey for yourself?
I felt cheated out of the trip first time because I couldn't see things, I was seeing things in 2 dimensions back then instead of 3 dimensions. It was just, I wasn't totally there, and I knew it. Like I said earlier, I could still do stuff, but I wasn't fully enjoying life, and I felt cheated out of it. For example, a car in Kamloops, if I saw people going by in a car when I was there, I'm like, well, where do those people live? Like, I couldn't think in my head cognitively that they probably lived in Kamloops. It felt like they could live anywhere in Canada. Sort of weird, sort of trippier stuff like that was what I was going through, but I could still do all this stuff. So I'd like to just see Canada again from an older perspective. I just love biking. I really do. It's just fun. I really enjoy it, and I want to live a healthy lifestyle. It gives me focus. The last few months training for it, it's just like, oh, I'm not just sitting on a stationary bike going nowhere. I'm actually doing this for a purpose. It just gives me purpose for the summer, something to look forward to, and yeah. What
went into planning the route itself?
I'll be honest, I took my old route from my 1992 trip and used that as a template. So most of the stops are the same, but I modified it for some other considerations. So yeah, I want to go to Newfoundland. I've left Newfoundland to maybe August 19th or 20th to St. John's, from Argentia to St. John's. If I have time, if the trip goes well, if the Trans-Canada, if a bridge doesn't collapse like it has in recent years and shuts down traffic for a number of days, if I can make it to Newfoundland on time, I'd like to bike across the whole province of Newfoundland. And I haven't organized that part yet, but it's an option. So the one thing I'd like people to know is biking across Canada is so much easier than you think. I know it sounds weird. It was daunting the first time I did it, and it's daunting me now again. But I'm thinking, Matthew, you have to do what? Bike 60 kilometers today? Like, why? You told yourself to do this, Matthew. But it's daunting again, but it's so much easier than people think. I know, because I was out there thinking, wow, it's not that hard to do this physically. I'm not doing a Tour de France ride. Tour de France, those cyclists would just blow by me. And this is just slow and steady. It takes 3 months to train for. Some people don't even train for the trip and do it.
Well, I've only done it by car. But I will say it does give you, for the rest of my life, I did this when I was much younger, but even driving across gives you a greater sense of what Canada really is.
Rick Mercer report, he traveled across Canada in a van with 4 guys, I think, for 15 years. And he said, he says, Canadians should see this beautiful country. They really should get out and see it. So
I want to ask you a little bit about Minded as well, because you're obviously raising mental health awareness and also funds for schizophrenia and also on a more regional level too, if people want. But Minded is your baby about mental health in third world countries. Can you tell people at home who might not know about it what this organization is that you've set up?
It's basically a simple curation site. And I started researching the groups helping people with mental illness in developing countries. It's vastly under-resourced. Some people are actually kept in chains, tied to a tree, tied to a bed with untreated mental illness as well. And the groups are out there. They've been doing work. I keep finding more as time goes on and adding them to the site. Some countries have only 1 psychiatrist per million people. It's just horrible. I went through treated mental illness here in a somewhat better mental health care system, and my heart for decades has gone out to people in poverty or in war with mental illness as well. I'm like, how do you do that? And when there's help, these models of basic mental health care are low cost, proven effective, and scalable. And the World Health Organization is trying to figure out the best way to roll them out to the masses. So it's not like they're trying to figure out ways to help them. They've already done that. So they're just trying to roll it out, and I'm just trying to promote these groups and get more people knowing about them. Strong Minds, Basic Needs US, Find Mind, Minds Foundation, Partners in Health, CBM UK. I'd like more people to know their names. And most of them are on social media. You can share their posts for free, get more people knowing about them. A lot of them you can donate to for like $3 a month or $5 a month, $10 a month. A coffee a month, you can help somebody. And I just would really like more people to know about them. I've got some people, as I keep reaching out to people in the media and other people, I'm making more of a name for myself, which I'm very happy about. I'm hesitant to say this on camera, but I think I will. Someone worth $2 billion in the States, I talked to him online, and he said, Matthew, he knows some Grammy Award winners and some other top stars. He says, how would you like if I reached out to them and asked if they'd like to record a song like We Are the World, or Do They Know It's Christmas, for Band Aid in the 80s, for Mind Aid, because I've been wanting to make like a Mind Aid concert. Wow. It could be a one-time big concert like Band Aid, Live Aid, Earth Aid, or it could be a somewhat smaller concert, but in many cities. It could be annual, small concerts, big concerts. I don't know. That's ideal. But the Kier Amphitheater, people said, why don't you put on a Mind Aid concert there? That's a thought of mine. I may pursue that. This whole idea of a Mind Aid concert, I haven't approached till the last couple months. I was waiting for my own mental health and confidence to start to reach out to some of the contacts in the music and mental health industry that I've been slowly collecting over the last 5 years. So it's that's by far is my biggest idea, and I'm starting to take action on it. So I'm just hoping that It's way beyond me. I don't know how to put on a concert. I'd have to have teams of people who know how to do that. And we were talking about that before the show. But it's I'm willing to be a spokesperson. I have no problem talking to high status people. So I can definitely network that way. And
I should mention for people at home, you were named one of LA Weekly's, that's Los Angeles Weekly's top 10, I think, mental health advocates to follow right now. So maybe this isn't such a far off dream.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just to have people of like that billionaire's caliber is interested in what I'm doing. Is just I had another lady, a performer in New York City, a singer, and she said, Matthew, the idea of a Mind Aid concert, she got chills thinking about it. I mean, if I could raise millions of dollars to help people just get their mental health back and unchain them. Zach Williams, Robin Williams' son, he's helping promote hashtag Break the Chains to unchain people with mental illness. So there are celebrities, there's others too. Ashley Judd has narrated a promo video for Strong Minds. So it's, yeah.
Well, for those of us here in Canada who want to follow your next big adventure, and especially those of us in New Brunswick who might not be able to join you for the Vancouver leg of your bike journey that kicks off in June, when will you be back in the Maritimes? When can we follow you here?
When I bike through the Maritimes, it would be in August.
Okay.
So all the dates are on the webpage for the bike ride. I get into Newfoundland sort of late August, so early to mid-August, I think I'll be coming through New Brunswick.
Well, if you can make one of your stops this couch, we'd love to have you back. But thank you for being here today.
You're welcome. I'm going through Woodstock, Fredericton, St. John, then up to like the Moncton area, so I could probably pop down here.
Well, then I'll see you then, and I wish you the best of luck, Matthew, and congratulations, and thank you for everything you do.
Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
My guest today has been Matthew Dickson, a mental health advocate who is biking across Canada to raise mental health awareness. I'm Vicki Hogarth. Thank you for watching Southwest Magazine.
Southwest Magazine is a news and public affairs production of CHCO Television.